Hi, hello, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it may be for you. Welcome back, and if you're new here, my name is Sam. I like doing a bunch of lifestyle videos, including nursing, college, food, workouts, all the above. So if you're interested, please subscribe and like this video. But today is going to be all about things that I wish I knew before getting into nursing school. That way you don't have to learn it on your own. Personally, I didn't know very many people going into nursing school. I didn't know very many nurses besides my family, but they're all older and like nursing school is different than it was back then. So everything that I've learned, I went in blind and had to learn myself, and it wasn't necessarily very fun. So I highly suggest, if you're thinking about going into nursing, you just got into nursing school, or you're just starting, something like that, then watch multiple people's videos about nursing. Watch vlogs, watch studying tips, watch what I wish I knew before nursing school, all of those. That way you're a little more prepared and kind of know what to expect. And it's not just an overload all at once like it is for me and majority of us. Also, let's ignore the whole hairdo situation because I'm trying to wash my hair less and make it more healthier, but it just wasn't working out today, so this happened. Also, since we're talking about nursing school and college, I wanted to rep my school because I go to U of M and they play today and they're going to win even though they haven't been doing the best. I want to rep. So that's why I'm wearing bright freaking yellow. Anyways, let's get into it. So number one, your social life will be decreased and your non-nursing friends will not understand why. I don't want to sit here and say that you won't have a social life because that's not true. You will have somewhat of one. But if you're someone who constantly goes out and just all the time and always has free time and finds time to go do stuff, it will not be like that in nursing school. You will be busier than you have ever imagined. And yes, I have had days and weeks and whatever go out and hang out with friends, go to events, go to a restaurant, like go to events at school, all that stuff. Yes, you will have some time, but it will be highly decreased. And I'm just saying, people with majors, more normal majors like communications, business, theater, music, like I don't know, all that kind of stuff, they just won't understand because they will say that, oh, I'm in classes but I have time for that, or I still have the free time, or I have all these things due, but like, I don't know, they just won't understand. And I don't mean to say they're worse or not as important as nursing majors. No way am I saying that. They are needed, they are important. But it's just a very, very different concept in college than it is compared to nursing school. It's just normal college majors and classes don't have all these extras that we have to put so much time and effort into, that they don't realize that all these extras mean that we have a highly decreased social life than they will have. And it takes a lot more effort and determination to have that time for a social life. So you can have one, don't get me wrong, it just takes more effort to have one. Number two is the grading scale is different than normal college classes, which I had no idea. So in nursing, you have to get a 77% or higher to pass the class. Normal classes, I believe, are 70%. So this means that every single thing you do has to be above a 77%. And usually exams are an average of 77%. So if you do one really bad one and you get like 50-60%, you better do great on all the other ones because you have to average at least a 77% to pass that class, or else you fail and have to redo it, which people also don't understand because you're like, oh, I got a 75, and they're like, oh, great job, like you passed. And it's like, no, I didn't. Like, I need a lot better than that. It's honestly very stressful because you're not used to having to do that great, which doesn't sound great, but sometimes it's hard to get that. Which leads me into my next one, which is number three. You will not necessarily get straight A's like you used to in undergrad. Exams and questions are very different than normal. You will not be used to it. Projects are a lot more intense. Critical thinking is involved within everything, and you won't necessarily know how to do this right away, so it will be hard to learn a lot of things. You are expected to study about 8 to 10 hours a day for each class. You will be busy probably having a job because you have to make money, while also having 1 to 2 days of clinicals, plus 1 to 3 days of classes, plus all these projects and papers. There's just a lot, and it's not as easy because, like I said, it's very different than normal classes, which I'll kind of get into later too. But You won't necessarily know how to get work done, how to study, all that when you first get into nursing school. That comes later on. I was a straight 4.0 straight A student before I got into nursing program, but I can tell you it probably won't be that right away. It's possible, yeah, don't get me wrong, but it's going to take a lot more effort to get that 4.0 or straight A's than it did in undergrad. Number 4 is about clinical. You kind of just get thrown into that, to be honest. But you will not be with a nurse every day of clinical. You basically go along with their clinical instructor and do your own thing. So your clinical instructor will be there basically to examine your skills and if you need help with anything, and then to pass meds. But you are expected to do everything else on your own. You will get assigned patients, usually 1 or 2, and then you go to the nurse who's assigned to them and they kind of give you a little report. And you say, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing vitals, I'm doing meds, I'm doing assessment, whatever your instructor wants you to do. And then after that, you don't really do anything with the RN unless there's absolutely something wrong that the RN needs to know about. The RN will do her job, go in, look at the vitals you took, do her own thing. But you don't really follow a nurse until the very last semester of nursing school. You mainly in clinicals work on the skills that you have learned about in class and done in like a skills lab, and then apply it to real life with your clinical instructor. There is a crap ton of documentation that you have to do during clinicals, so you might be on the computer a lot, learning how to document assessments and notes and just all of that stuff. So kind of sucks. Clinicals don't give you all the experience that you wish you had. So this isn't really something before nursing school, but I do recommend your junior or senior year of college to try to find an externship. That's what I did, and you gain so much more experience than you do in clinicals during school. Number 5 is there are more exams in nursing school than just regular classes. And by this, I kind of mean yes, you take exams based on the material that you learn in class. You do that every semester, just like a normal class would. But that's not it. You also have something called the HESI, which is kind of a test that prepares and examines how well you're going to do for the NCLEX. I believe every single nursing school has an HESI exit exam you have to take, and that basically counts as part of your grade, but also determines what you're going to do on the NCLEX, which a bunch of people say it's really not a good factor deciding it, but whatever. These are not necessarily material that you learn from class, but kind of assesses how you can use critical thinking, how you prioritize, see if you can take material you've learned from class and apply it to these questions or situations. You also have care plans, which are huge papers, like over 50-page papers about a certain patient that you have had in clinical. These basically count as exam grades as much as an exam would, so I wanted to include it in this section because it's literally as much as an exam would be. Number 6, answering questions on exams are not the same as you're used to. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but nursing exams are not just simple right or wrong. They don't have those normal questions where it's, okay, this is the right answer. First of all, majority of exams have questions where the answers will all be right. And the question is basically asking, which is the best one? Which is very hard because it's not based on being right or wrong. It's not necessarily facts. It's you using critical thinking and your skills to determine which answer is best. So an example of this would be a question gives you multiple different patient scenarios and says, which patient is your priority? Like, which one are you going to go to assess first? And it'll have like 4 different patients, 4 different ages, 4 different symptoms or stuff that's going on. And you have to use your skills to say, this one's first, this is the one I need to prioritize. Another example would be, it gives you a patient scenario and it says, which intervention would the nurse do first? So in that question, you need to look at which intervention or which action you're going to do very first. So again, every single action, every single answer there is right. You're going to do every single one of those. But you're not going to do every single one first. You have to look at which is the best option. That is why it's very hard for nursing students to get used to taking these exams, to get good grades on them, to a lot of people take them in a very long amount of time because it's just, they're all right answers and we are not used to taking exams like that. Number 7 is that you need to be organized, like way more than normal. I will admit, before nursing school, I was not a very organized person. My professors used to remind you and say, okay, this is what's due tomorrow, this is what due this week, like this is step-by-step process of what you need to do for this assignment kind of thing. And they don't do that in nursing school. They literally basically throw you in class and say, let's get started. My very first fundamentals class, like the first class of nursing school, my professor literally said, look at the syllabus. If you ask me a question and the answer is in the syllabus, I will not answer it. I will just tell you to go read it. So I was like, damn, I really gotta figure this out. The professors treat you like an adult. They're not going to go through a step-by-step process of assignments. They're not going to remind you when things are due. They will just expect you to know. You need to go through every single thing that they give you. Do whatever you need to do to organize yourself so that you know and you will never have to ask a question. Obviously you can, and they'll help you when you're struggling or need help, but for the most part you better know what you're doing. Number 8 is that there are tons of requirement and like preparation things you need to do before you even go to clinicals or nursing school. I had no idea that this stuff was gonna need to be done. You need to get vaccines, shots, tests, like certifications, all that stuff. To have clinicals and be able to like take care of patients in a hospital, you have to get the vaccines and just certifications and everything that they require their workers to have. Some of these things could include a flu shot. Nowadays, the COVID vaccine, if the hospital requires that or your school does, plus being up to date with all of the other vaccines from your childhood. You have to get a TB test that comes negative. You have to get a CPR certification or any other certifications that your school or hospital recommends or requires. When you go to a hospital or whatever facility you go to do clinicals at, a lot of them require you to comply with their module. So this is like HIPAA, this is like just kind of learning rules and regulations that you have to go through these modules and get certain hours for, and you have to do that basically any clinical site you go to. So if you are at one hospital one semester, you have to do it, and if you go to another one, then you have to do it again for that hospital. Number 9 is that there are skill labs, simulations, clinicals, all that, as well as classes. So you may be only taking 2 classes, but those 2 classes equal the same amount of credits as someone who's taking 5 or 6. Basically, you have classes, but your clinicals are like extra classes, and then your simulations and skill labs and all that is like 1 extra class again. Simulations include being with like the fake robotic people to learn how to assess and certain situations, stuff like that. Skill labs include like vitals, giving meds, hanging IV bags, stuff like that. When I got into nursing school, I was like, wow, 2 classes, that's really not that bad. And then I learned all the extra that come along with it, and I was like, okay, I'm literally more busy than I was when I was taking 5 classes. And number 10, you guys all know, college is expensive, but nursing school is more expensive. Like I said, obviously college is expensive. Everyone goes in debt basically. But nursing school unfortunately has so many more things you have to pay for than a normal college class. Firstly, books cost a ton, no matter what class you have. The thing that really gets you in nursing school is a lot of professors require you to buy programs, like online. These programs can be a wide variety of things, whether you take questions or quizzes, or they assign certain assignments for you to read, something like that, or activities to do. But these programs can cost up to $400. I think I've had to buy at least 3 at around $350. So that's a lot of money just for a program to answer questions or do activities online for. You have to buy scrubs and materials that you need for clinical. Every nursing school and hospital has dress codes that you have to comply to. So you have to wear certain scrubs, you might have to wear certain shirts underneath, you might have to wear certain shoes, but in order to comply to this, you have to go out and buy certain ones, which are not necessarily cheap. My nursing scrubs were about double, triple the price of my scrubs I actually wear to go to work. And then you also have to buy equipment because they don't just give you that stuff. A bird literally, I think, almost just killed itself into my window. We'll check on him later. This equipment includes like stethoscope, the shoes I was talking about, any other like equipment you think would be handy or necessary within clinicals, which let me tell you is a few things. I would say like certain pens or highlighters, Sharpie, scissors, like tape, just stuff that you're going to need, like a little badge reel. I like the ones that actually like pull out, that way you don't have to like unhook it every time you have to use it or something. Just little things that kind of add up. And then also transportation. That's not something people think about because a lot of people just do classes on campus and they're already on campus. But for nursing students, we have to drive to our clinical sites, and these hospitals or wherever you do your clinical at usually can be up to an hour away. Some of the certifications that you may need, like I was saying, you have to get things before you get into nursing school, like your CPR BLS certification. These certifications can cost some money. So those are my 10 things that I really wish I knew before nursing school. Obviously, there's a crap ton more, but those are probably the top 10 that I was like, I found out during nursing school and I was like, I didn't know this. But those are probably the top 10 that I think are the most important to kind of prepare yourself for. Now, I also don't want this to scare anyone. If you are thinking about going into nursing, or you just got into nursing school, or you're in it and you're just overwhelmed, you have this. It's hard, but it's going to be worth it. First of all, it's harder than all these other degrees, but you have to think, not that money is what matters, and we are not in this for money, but you have to think you're going through 4 or 5, however many years of college to graduate, and you're going to be making double the amount of what people with other degrees such as business, education, communications, whatever, are going to start out as. So first of all that hard work is worth it for the money. Second of all, you have to realize we are in one of the hardest majors for undergrad that there is. And yes, it's hard, yes, it's a lot, and it's overwhelming, but it has to be. You are caring for people's lives, and that's very stressful, yes, but all the stuff that you're learning in nursing school is going to help you literally save people, or at least be there for them when they can't be saved. And to me, that makes all this hard work worth it. With that said, I'm going to end this video here, and if you enjoyed and you want to see more nursing videos, content, whatever, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.